Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sree Iyer. I hereby request you to please like this video so it can go viral. And it is important that to understand and appreciate this video, you should listen to Nitin Gadkari's conversation with Arnab and I think Aishwari or something like that on Republic TV that aired just a few hours ago. So on the 26th, I guess. So please do watch that conversation. That conversation is in Hindi. And if you don't understand Hindi, the summary of that is Nitin Gadkari ji is painting a picture where India can solve its pollution, crop burning, and become self-reliant in energy while being green. So this is a huge change in paradigm. It's a paradigm shift. And to get there, there are a lot of things that need to go right. However, it is my opinion that whatever the government is planning is actually doing the right thing and it is on the right direction. So there were a lot of technologies discussed. Ethanol, rice-based ethanol, sugarcane-based ethanol, hydrogen fuel cell, electric vehicle, electric hybrids, and so on and so forth. I'm going to lift the lid a little bit, peek underneath to really find which is the more realistic option for India. We have to remember that a country of India's size and requirements, if it puts its mind to it, it is possible to make many of these technologies viable. Viability comes from economies of scale, and I am very sure that that is possible if India sets its heart at it. So let's first start by how crop burning can be prevented. You know, why does crop burning take place in states like Punjab and Haryana? It used to never be a problem. Why? Because now Punjab and Haryana are also growing rice, which it used to be grown in the Kaveri Delta. Now a lot of that stuff is being done in Punjab and Haryana. Why? Because Karnataka and Tamil Nadu or when there is water, they are fighting. Most of the time there is no water. So being all these things, the predominant amount of rice that used to be produced there, that has taken a hit. You have to take a look at it on a long-term view to find out. There's been a gradual reduction, mainly because of water not being as much available as it used to be. And it has to be kept in mind that rice has to have standing water for several days. I'm standing in front of a rice field and you can see the water that is there. You have to have rice standing water, and if the standing water is not guaranteed, then the crop will be damaged, which is perhaps why Punjab and Haryana started producing rice. Now, they also used to produce wheat. So what happened was they started their crop season a little earlier and they started doing rice, I guess in July or something like that, but the harvest is in September, October, and then they have the other crop that starts after that. I'm not very sure on the date, so don't kill me for that, but I'm just trying to tell you that crop burning is a recent phenomenon in Haryana and Punjab, and this has to do with what to do with the chaff or the rice straw that is there after you take out the rice seeds from it. So this rice straw can be used to create ethanol. How do you do that? Well, first of all, let us take a look at some technical numbers. If the whole world takes the rice straw and decides to convert that into ethanol, it can supplement 5% of the total consumption. That is now, if you assume that 100% is now fossil fuels, 5% of that can be done. Now, it is the single largest amount from a single biomass feedstock. What that means is that this is because 1/3 of the world eats rice, there is a lot of it going around. Now, what does this rice straw contain? It contains cellulose, about 32 to 47%, hemicelluloses, 19 to 27%, lignin, 5 to 24%, and ashes of 18.8%. it also must be kept in mind that if you get 1 kilo of rice, about 1 to 1.5 kilos of rice straw is also produced. So what do people do with it? Nothing. They just burn it now. That leads to pollution. So this is one way to solve it. Now, how do you take this rice straw and convert that into ethanol or bioethanol, to be very, very precise? Because these are industry terms. Because the ethanol today is actually, ethanol is something that is from sugarcane. You take sugarcane and create ethanol out of it. That is called ethanol, and rice is called bioethanol. But at the end of the day, there's not much of a difference. The efficiency of this and the viability is still a work in progress. However, if a country like India jumps in with both its feet to tackle the pollution from crop burning, this could be another creator of ethanol. Now let's take a look at the sugarcane based ethanol benefits and considerations. Again, rice based ethanol or sugarcane based ethanol, you can apply more or less the same set of rules. So just keep this thing as a big picture, mota mota. Ethanol is a renewable, domestically produced transportation fuel. Now, there are some standards that have evolved across the world, and these are in place today in the United States, and ethanol is used in a big way in Brazil. So if you drive around in Brazil, you'll see some interesting sights. At the fuel station, you will see people whip out their calculators, look at the prices, and then calculate the numbers, and then decide whether they want to pump in ethanol or they want to pump in petrol. And the reason for that is the prices differ. However, ethanol fuel has 25% less energy, which means the distance that it can travel, than petrol. So again, as a loose comparison, say a liter of petrol is 100, and if ethanol is 75, then it is either way okay. If ethanol is 70, you put ethanol. If ethanol is 80, you put petrol, because that's how you'll have to make the comparison. So now there are three popular brands: E10, which is 10% ethanol, 90% gasoline; E15, which is 10.5 to 15% ethanol, and the remaining gasoline. Gasoline is, by the way, petrol. And these are standards that are in play today in United States. For my car, I usually put gas in a warehouse called Costco, and Costco gives you this 15% ethanol, or E15. That's what they provide. So all the cars, I think for the last, I would say about 25 years or so, 20 to 25 years, they've all taken this blend of ethanol plus gasoline. Now, there is an even higher standard called flex fuel, which is E85, which means the ethanol blend in E85 can be between 51% to 83% ethanol, and the remaining will be petrol. Now, why this 51 to 83%? That is because it depends upon which latitude the place is, and there are some calculations that say that for this latitude, this is the best blend. So just take it that way. But for India, it doesn't really matter much, because India is around the Tropic of Cancer, and more or less 1% can help. Now, the most important takeaway is that ethanol will help in reducing emissions. Why? Because like any alternative fuel, the use of ethanol involves several considerations. What it is that I told you that it's 27% or 25% less energy. Now, it also, because of the fact that all car engines are built before, they don't know which kind of blend you are going to put. Are you going to put E10, which is 10% ethanol, or are you going to put E15, 15% ethanol, or flex fuel, which could be 51 to 83%? The builders of the car don't know. So what they usually do is they optimize the engine for petrol vehicles, because it essentially most cars will run on petrol, and you are just trying to add a new blend. Therefore, the efficiency of these cars is dependent on what kind of a starting point they have. But if India decides that it's going to make flex fuels the standard, then the engines can be optimized not on petrol but on ethanol. Because once that shift happens, then ethanol based engines will give you more mileage for those cars. So this is essentially a this or that scenario, but for a country of India's size, then it can be optimized to run on higher ethanol blends. And that would mean that the economy also will go up because of the increased efficiency. And it must be remembered that ethanol is a net job creator, because people will be encouraged to have not one crop or two crop, but perhaps 3 crops in a year, so that they can continuously produce ethanol. Now, I'm going to dwell into a little bit of the conversion efficiencies of sugarcane to ethanol, which is already done because this has been around for a long time. Now, you can ask me the question, if it is all so great, why is it that not all cars in US are running on ethanol? Well, it has been lukewarm, and I'll tell you why. You can just listen to me a little bit more. So, if you start with, say, 100 kilograms of sugarcane, you will get 7 liters of ethanol. It will also create about 80 liters of a liquid waste and 30 kilograms of solid waste. Now, this solid waste, this 30 kilograms, can be used to either heat, or it can be used as a steam or electricity for the plant, but then that has to be through a process. But this liquid waste, that needs to be handled. It is also called as 𝗍𝗂𝗃, and it has to be treated before you can dispose it. So this is one concern, and this has been the main concern for people, because like I said, so for 100 kilos you got like 7 liters. So it's not a great amount of conversion. Therefore, you need to, that was one problem. The other problem was the concern of what do you do with the liquid waste. Now, the most important takeaway though is if you compare a fossil fuel based car and an ethanol based car, the ethanol has a better green footprint. Why? Because when sugarcane is produced, the plants will actually absorb the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and give out oxygen while they grow. So this is a very important takeaway. The third thing Gadkari ji discussed was the hydrogen fuel based cars. Now, I'm not going to go into how hydrogen itself is generated or is created, but it is suffice to think that it is just like a flex fuel car, except there will be a separate pump for this. Just like we have a petrol pump and a diesel pump in a petrol station, you will also have a hydrogen fuel pump. And I have shown a picture of how it looks like in one of the references in the show more section of this video. You can get it from there. The next interesting thing is electric hybrids. What is an electric hybrid? Again, there are lots of cars in the United States today that happen to be electric hybrids. In fact, I would be so bold to say that by default, cars became flex fuel about 10-15 years ago, and about 2-3 years ago, they've all become electric hybrids. This is a very important category. What is an electric hybrid, or what is an electric hybrid? There is a rechargeable electric battery in the car, and that is being constantly recharged while the car is running on petrol. Now remember, there's a rotation of the wheel happening. That rotation can be used to create electricity, which then will charge the electric battery. A computer in the car is constantly monitoring the charging process, and when the battery charge reaches a certain level, the computer switches the engine drive to electric. So now the engine will no longer burn petrol, but instead it will be running on electric power. This will be shown on your dashboard so you can see it. Oh, now I'm completely cruising on electricity. Again, the power will draw down, and at that point, again the threshold, it will go below a certain threshold and the engine will switch back to petrol. So this is the beauty of the electric hybrid. So when you look at 𝗹𝗂𝘀𝘁𝗀𝗋, when you look at it, then suddenly you will feel like you are not creating or you're not burning any energy to recharge the electric battery. Therefore, that part is as if it is coming free to you. So it gives you amazing fuel efficiencies. That's what is in force today. Maybe all these things are the reasons why the Biden administration is saying, I don't want to produce fossil fuel anymore. I'm just saying because they have not communicated it. I'm glad they didn't, because that gives me an opportunity to give you the pros and cons of all these different green energy options. Now let's take a look at the last one, which is the pure electric. What is a pure electric? A pure electric is a car or a two-wheeler or a scooter or a truck that can be charged at your home. Just like you would charge your cell phone, you would be charging your car. It will be a slightly different kind of a plug because the current is much more, and it has a certain range, let's say 70 kilometers. So if you are going to go 200 kilometers, then what do? For that, what you need to do is on the road where you are going, they will have to have long supercharging stations where, let's say when you reach 50-kilometer limit, you go and pull up in front of a supercharging station, supercharge your vehicle, 10-20 minute stop. You can go and get a coffee, a dosa, idli, a paratha, whatever, and then continue going. So this is a good place to a good place to put these supercharging stations would be perhaps malls where there are eateries. So you have 4 or 5 different eateries. You can eat pizza, whatever you want. That 20-25 minutes for it takes for the vehicle to get supercharged. So that is one way. Now, the other way is to have it as part of any petrol pump also. Although I don't see that happening because petrol pumps are used to moving the cars all the time. Whereas when you go and have an electric supercharger in a petrol pump, it is going to take space. It's going to be right there for 25-30 minutes. And I don't think petrol bunks are set up for that. Maybe they will find their place in malls. That's how you find them in the United States today. I have a few Teslas, all of them are pure electric, and that's exactly what I do. And I'm not worried too much about taking it for long distance trips because I have an app that tells me where all these supercharging stations are along the way so I can pace myself. Now, in order to take advantage of all these things, great, you have the next generation cars, you have the next generation technology, you have solved your pollution problem, you have solved the crop burning issue, perhaps you have even solved the farmers' agitation because suddenly farmers will be more encouraged to produce more. Now, what else do you need? You need good roads. Well, that is exactly what the Modi government is doing. It is laying out a lot of roads. And if you listen to Nitin Gadkari speak, it gets you excited. He says you can go from Delhi to Dehradun in 2 hours. Wow, Delhi to Dehradun to Haridwar in 2 hours. That would be great. So this is the crux of his speech. All I did was take the pointers and try to expand them, take a little bit more of an insight into the techniques and methodologies involved. How soon can all this be done? Well, if a country the size of India sets its mind to it, it can happen very quickly. And again, the economies of scale will make any one of these options a very profitable venture. Thanks for watching. Do like, share and subscribe to PGurus channel. Namaskar.